Twitter says 130 people were targeted in that hack that hijacked accounts, including Elon Musk's, Joe Biden's, Kanye West. We covered this story the other day. Somebody made fun of the way that I pronounced the deceased rapper XXX. Do you know how to correctly pronounce his name? I mean, the next part that comes after the X. I tried it 2 different ways. I said temptation, and then I said tentacion. I don't know. Temptation. Right, it's Tion, but it's obviously if I was less of a boomer, then I would say it perfectly and smoothly because I would have been a fan, which I wasn't. Yeah. But some people, there's some diehard fans, so
called you out.
Yeah, they're upset about it. But anyways, he was also hacked, even though he's deceased. And I remember I mentioned to you that's an interesting target. Yeah. And of course, trying to get to the bottom of why the targets were who they were, obviously. In some cases, the billionaires and the popular accounts make a lot of sense. But then you throw in a YouTuber and a few rappers, and it was hard to know exactly why that group of 130 people were the top priority beyond the fact that they were just strictly popular. There's a lot of popular accounts, obviously. In fact, Trump's account brought up a lot of speculation, conspiracy theories as to why his wasn't attacked. And I'll be talking about that actually in the next story. Well, it's a little foreshadowing in the show here. Yeah. The hackers received 100. We just have some new details here as well, as the fact that we know now that 130 separate people were targeted. The hackers received $121,000. I know you were curious about the total lump sum figure. Yes. From over 400 payments to 3 separate Bitcoin addresses. So it wasn't just one wallet. Now, that seems low to me when you consider the number of people that would have been reached with that message.
Yes.
400 payments? That's it? 400 people attempted it. Yeah. I mean, look, 121,000 is 121,000. But 400 payments, well, that comes back to the conversation we were having of how much damage could have been done. Mm-hmm. You really only damaged 400 people.
Yeah.
And you could have damaged 400 million.
Some sort of...
Or 4 billion, depending on what you did with that power, because it's a tremendous amount of power. The hack compromised the accounts of several prominent figures in business and politics. The FBI is now actively looking into it. You don't want to be Twitter right now. You got the FBI. Just come on, Jack. What really happened here?
Tell us the goods.
A little good cop, bad cop going on. Yeah. So yeah, they're trying to. It looks like the Twitter support handle is the one that's giving people the new information, if there is any. For a small subset of these accounts, the attackers were able to gain control of the accounts and then send tweets from those accounts. So as we spoke about on yesterday's episode, this happened through some kind of admin dashboard. It happened not an inside job, but it needed access to some insider to be compromised for the thing to then take place, whether or not that insider, I'm not suggesting they're part of it, but I'm just saying whatever their knowledge was, right. It had to, since it came through this admin panel. And something really interesting, you know, I read down through this thing. First of all, here's a quote. These attackers were the equivalent of stealing a McLaren F1, taking it for a joyride, and then crashing it into a telephone pole 4 minutes later. And that's a way of this commenter here, Alex Stamos. He's a former chief security officer at Facebook. That's a way of him saying this had tremendous potential, and it didn't really end up as nearly as bad as it could have. Mm-hmm. It was just a short little detour. There's so much more damage that could have been done. But anyway, I keep reading, and I'm looking for something here, and I find this piece. It's where Twitter's quoted as saying, "Currently, we don't believe resetting your password is necessary." You see, and this adds some fuel to the theory that there was limited access that these guys had, that this hacker had to these accounts. If you don't even have to, if you don't have to change your password, it means they never had the password in the first place, mm-hmm. which means that this dashboard had certain limitations in it that allowed for tweets to be posted, allowed for email addresses on accounts to be changed, but actually didn't change the password itself. Very strange. If you think about it, that statement right there equals, to me, that gets me going a little bit, huh? So, they shut down verified accounts, right? I couldn't tweet on the Unbox Therapy account when it happened. They shut them all down. but they're not asking anybody to change their password. So there was no dump of data, no dump of information. Otherwise, they'd have to be telling everybody that could have been compromised to change their password. So they seem to know maybe even more than what they're putting out about exactly what was accessed through this dashboard. But for those that were suggesting, hey, they could have done some massive blackmail scheme. These are really rich people. Imagine what's in their DMs. It's possible that that stuff was never accessed. It's possible that that dashboard didn't dive that deeply, didn't grant that much access. Anyway, so there's many possibilities, but that's just, I read into that a little bit.